Hello, can we start the recording?
Good to go.
Thank you. Hey, hi everyone. Welcome to fifth Cloudeight Summit, and we are here to talk about building apps for Teams meeting. So, meetings in Teams enable us collaboration so that we can have a discussion with our partners, colleagues, and then again from there we can start discussing on the topics. But it is not just about that specific time that we are meeting during that meeting time and discussing few things, but at the same time we should think like how we can make those meetings interactive, especially in the cases where you have lot many audiences in your meeting, maybe 15, 20, those kind of a thing. Probably each one doesn't get a fair chance to speak out and then maybe present their views. So in those kind of circumstances, having some kind of an intelligent apps built into your teams meeting will help you collaborate more with your colleagues, and then help you gain more out of that meeting. So in our session, we are going to discuss more on that, how we'll be able to build those apps for Teams meetings. Through that, we'll be able to focus more on collaboration. All right. So, firstly, thank you very much to our sponsors for making this event happen. Thank you for your generosity to sponsor this event. Quick introduction. Myself, Nandadeep Nathan. I'm from Pune, India, and I'm Microsoft MVP for M365 apps and services, as well as Microsoft certified trainer. At the same time, I'm author of three books on SharePoint framework, hybrid working with SharePoint 2019, and the one which just got recently launched last week on Microsoft Viva Connections. And then I mostly talk about SharePoint, Microsoft 365, Power Platform, and Azure. And onto the right hand side, here are a few of the social media handlers to get in touch with me. And with me today is Smita.
Hello, myself Smita Natsan. I'm from Pune, India. I'm having total 14 plus years of experience in Microsoft technology, especially with MC65, SharePoint, Teams, Power Platform, Forms, Viva, and also I'm a Microsoft MVP for MC65 development category, and I'm a Microsoft certified trainer, and I published two books with A Press. So these are my social handles by which you can get in touch with me.
All right, so let us see like how the typical meeting looks like in a software engineer's life. So let's say we have a meeting of almost 30 minutes scheduled with our colleague. So what happens during that time is maybe for first 5 minutes until everyone joins, we see a lots of crowds saying hi, hellos, how was the vacation, how is your day, and all those things. But over the time when the meeting starts, we see some one-way kind of a communication. So probably during that window frame of maybe 5 minutes to maybe 15 minutes, and then towards the end we just see one way kind of a communication where the information just flows from one side, and then probably for the presenter it might not be a good way to judge whether all of the audiences they're able to see what he or she is trying to convey, and will that organizer is able to achieve the target of that meeting. So it is pretty much difficult for that organizer to go ahead and evaluate those kind of thing. And then again towards end of it, it will be lots of buys. So probably it is a space where we will see most collaboration. So what we are trying to achieve in this particular session is that we will see how we can achieve more kind of an collaboration during this window of 5 minutes until 25 minutes, so that we'll be able to gain most of our audiences, will be able to get their views, we'll be able to listen to them, and then we'll be able to build something through which we will be able to intelligently get some feedback from them. And then how we can do that? So we should be able to do that with few simple tips and tricks by creating apps. So again, creating the apps here doesn't mean that we need to go ahead start coding something and create an app, but probably there are categories of apps available. We can use the apps which are directly available inside our Microsoft Teams store, the first party apps from Microsoft, or maybe third party apps from different vendors. At the same time, we do have capabilities through which we'll be able to create our own apps as well. So in this session, we will show you how to use those simple apps directly. At the same time, how we'll be able to create our own app, because most of the situation that we have, those might get solved by the first party or third party apps. But if in case we have some kind of an customized request wherein we want to go ahead create our own app, or maybe our IT department is a bit worried about using the first party or third party apps because they might be thinking that our data might get passed on to the third party or maybe to Microsoft. So uh, how we'll be able to handle this kind of a situation. At the same time, we can create a bot so that that bot will help us to maybe push some kind of an agenda to our participants, or maybe get some more information about the meeting that is happening into the future. And then again, even we can create some kind of a messaging extensions on top of it. Again, polls is a very nice way through which you will be able to engage your users mostly. So maybe you can use this poll towards the start for some kind of an ice-breaking kind of an activity. So let's say, for example, if you are meeting someone for a first time, maybe this kind of an polls will help us to get the conversation going, or at least get the conversation started. And from there, you can build the communication platform for your users and then start driving from there. So we are going to focus on that middle section by filling in the gap with apps, bots, or maybe with polls kind of a functionality. How we'll be able to achieve more by simply adding some apps inside Microsoft Teams meetings. All right, so let us have a look at this meeting app extensibility model, which is available onto this reference document of Microsoft documentation. So whenever we talk about meeting app extensibility, it simply enables us to have the meeting context aware, because whenever we start with the meeting, we do have participants. Each of the participant has got a certain role. There might be types of participants. For example, the participant which is native to your tenant is directly coming out of your tenant. That participant could be a federated one or could be a guest user. And then based on each of the role and each of the type that they have limitations to the access to the app, or what kind of things that they can do. So we'll explore on that as well. Again, this kind of a meeting app extensibility help you to plan the meeting life cycle. So whenever we talk about meeting, it is not just that time frame where the meeting actually happens. So let's say, for example, we just saw the example of a 30-minute meeting. So probably it is not just the span where that 30 minutes where everyone is going to collaborate, but meeting has its own life cycle. So that means prior to the meeting we can do something to get the engagement going on for our participants, or at least make them exciting about our meeting. During the meeting, even we can build some kind of an engaging experience to them. Even at the same time, post meeting we can do something from where we'll be able to maybe share the MOM of our meeting, or maybe some kind of an actionable points out of those meetings. So probably instead of sharing those via a separate email, we'll be able to do that right within the context of our teams itself. So how we can do that? So we'll be able to integrate tabs, bot, messaging extension, those kind of thing. Again, those can come from first party, from Microsoft, from third party, or even we'll be able to create our own. So at least we will show you how we can integrate the polls kind of an app quickly into the Teams meeting. But even we will focus on, for example, if needed, how we can go ahead and customize uh, on top of Teams meeting and create our own tabs and bots, so that it will help us to have some kind of an engaging experience during that meeting. And then again, we should always optimize this kind of a meeting experiences so that the app or bots that we are creating, that will always run within the context of that meeting. That code will be always aware of what is happening into the meeting, who are the participant, what is their role, and what kind of an information we want to surface to our users. So we can get those kind of an meeting events. We can hook in our bots or tabs to the meeting events, so that we'll be able to handle the meeting lifecycle well, whether it is pre-meeting, in-meeting, or post-meeting kind of an experience. So how we can do that? So we'll be able to probably have some kind of an in-meeting dialogues presented to our users or the participants, so that they will be able to have their say. So let's say, for example, if I just want to get the opinion of everyone, probably just having that question as a speak out and open-ended kind of an conversation, probably we can just go ahead, display some kind of a dialogue wherein they will be able to select the option or maybe have their own say, and then towards end of the meeting we will be able to get the nicer view, like what was the response from each of the user, and then what kind of an action that we should take based on that. So through those apps or bots we can fetch those participant roles, and then we'll be able to process them further. Even at the same time, those kind of an meeting app extensibility model help you to provide notification to the user whenever we have some kind of a functionality rolled out to them, or maybe we want to convey some kind of a messages to them. And then this one will create a simply customized experience for your audiences within that teams meeting. So so that your teams meeting will no longer boring, but at least everyone will be interacting in that meeting, and then you will be able to get most attention of each of the participants. So let's see how we'll be able to do that. So for that, we will see how what kind of an apps that we will be able to build, and what kind of an user experiences that we have for each of the life cycle stage of the meeting.
So, meeting enables the collaboration, partnership, and informed communication and share the feedback. So, the meeting apps can deliver a user experience for each stage of the meeting life cycle, and the meeting life cycle includes a pre meeting, in meeting, and post meeting app experience. So, depending on the attendee status, also. So, to enhance your meeting experience by using the meeting extensibility features. So, these features enables you to integrate your apps within a meeting. It also included different stages of a meeting life cycle where you can integrate the tabs, bots, and messaging extension. You can identify various participant roles and user types and get the meeting events and generate in-meeting dialogues. So the user can access the apps during meetings using the tab gallery from their calendar, such as pre-stage a Kanban board, launch an in-meeting actionable dialogue, create a post-meeting survey. So let's see about this unified meeting apps concept. So this Teams unified meetings apps are based on a few concepts. So the meeting life cycle has a three stages. The first one is the pre-meeting, then in-meeting, and then post-meeting. So you can integrate the tabs, bots, and messaging extensions in each stage of meeting life cycle. So these three distinct participant roles in meeting, which are this organizer, presenter, and attendee. So let's go one by one and let's understand what exactly these participant roles are in our meeting. So the organizers schedules a meeting, sets the meeting options, assign a meeting rules, and starts the meeting. So the user with Microsoft 365 accounts and a team license can only be the organizers and control the attendees' permission. A meeting organizer can change the setting for a specific meeting, and the meeting organizers can make these changes on the meeting options web page also. Then the second role is for the presenter. So the presenters have a same capabilities of the organizers with exclusion. A presenter cannot remove an organizer from the session or modify meeting options for the session. So by default, participants joining a meeting have the presenter role. Then the last one is the attendee. So an attendee is a user who can be invited to attend a meeting. So by attendees are not authorized to act as a presenter, and the attendee can interact with other meeting members but cannot manage any of the meeting settings or share the content. So, th- so these are these different use types in a meeting with their accessibility and the performance. Can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me now? So there are the different user types in a meeting with their accessibility and performance. So in tenant, guest, and a federated or a external. So let's see all one by one. So the first one is a in tenant. So in tenant users belong to the organization and have a credentials in Microsoft Azure Active Directory, that is Azure AD, for the tenant. So they are a full-time on-site or remote employees. So an in tenant user can be an organizer, presenter or attendee. So the second one is the guest. A guest is a participant from another organization invited to access a teams or other resources in the organization tenant. So guests are added to the organization's Azure Active Directory and have a same team's capability as a native team member. So they have access to the team's chat, meetings and files. A guest can be an organizer, presenter or an attendee. Then let's check for this federated or external. So a federated user is an external Teams user in another organization who has been invited to join a meeting, and the federated users have a valid credentials with federated partners and are authorized by Teams. So they don't have access to your Teams or other shared resources from your organization. So guest access is a better option for external users to have access to teams and channels. So your team users can add apps when they host meetings or chat with other organizations. So the users can use the app shared by external users, and when user joins the meeting or chats hosted by the organizations. So the data policies of hosting the users organizations as well as the data sharing practice of the third party app shared by the user organization will be in effect. And the last one is about the anonymous. So anonymous users don't have an Azure Active Directory identity and they are not federated with a tenant. So the anonymous participants are like external users but their identity is not shown in the meeting, and the anonymous users can't access apps in meeting window. An anonymous user can't be an organizer but can be a presenter or attendee. So let's see what are this meeting life cycle. So first check for this, let's check for this pre-meeting app experience. So with the pre-meeting app experience, you can find and add the meeting app. You can also do the pre-meeting tasks such as developing a poll to survey the meeting participants.
Let's quickly see a demo. How we'll be able to do it. Madhuri. Hopefully you can still hear me. Pre-meeting app experience is. So with this pre-meeting app experience, we'll be able to add some certain apps to our meeting. So for that, let me just go to my environment. So I have one user, which is me, and then I have another user, which is Debra. So with my user, I have logged in to Microsoft Teams desktop, and then I'm using the browser for Debra, so that one-to-one. All right. So what I will do now is that firstly, oh, just give me one moment. My internet connection seems to be down, but okay. All right. Okay. So what I will do first is I will go ahead and set up a meeting, and in that setting meeting, I will just call it as a meeting with Debra, and then I will just add the add the participant as Debra. Let me just try to get it. Okay, I'm just trying to get the user. Oops, looks like my internet is playing here. Oops. Just give me one moment. Let me just change my internet connection. Sorry, just give me one moment. इंटरनेट यूज झाले तुझे दोन sorry, just give me one moment. I need to disconnect the internet and maybe connect it one more time. Right, hopefully this should work now. Okay, all right. So let me just go back, reshare my screen. Okay, it's here. Okay, hopefully you can see my screen now. Yeah, all right. Okay, so let us go into okay, so let us go here, and then what I will do is I will just add another or invite this user called as Debra to this meeting. Still waiting on that experience. All right. Okay, here we go. So now that we have this user Debra being added to this meeting, and then simply I can go ahead and send this invite, which is kind of a normal practice that we do across all of the meetings. So what can happen now is that to add some kind of a pre-meeting experience with the out of the box or first party apps, what you can simply do is you can just again click on that invite one more time. Okay, looks like my internet is again playing with me. All right, and then you can just click on edit. Once you click on edit, on the top of this meeting, you can see various apps. You can click on add a tab, and then from there, you will be able to see all of the um, apps which are optimized for this meeting. So here we have one called as polls or forms. So we can just click on forms and then we will be able to use this form. So this kind of an forms can be used to maybe get some kind of an early feedback with our users. So what can happen in that case is I can probably just go ahead, create a new poll, and then this one will give us some kind of an option like do we want to have the multiple choice quiz, world cloud rating or ranking kind of a thing. Let's say we will go ahead with this option. I will not add anything fancy here, but let us go ahead with the default options that we have got. So we now have added this poll here directly. Let us go ahead into the Debra. So Debra has got the invite. I mean the browser now with Debra's login. So before the meeting starts, even that particular user can go here, and even that user will be able to see the polls which has been added by the organizer. And then here, when the meeting will start, what I can do as a organizer is that I can just launch this poll, or even right now this one is in draft mode. I can still go ahead launch this poll. So as soon as I launch this poll, even that particular poll will be available for the user, which is Debra. Right now, this poll is live. So when I will go back here, even this is kind of an pre-meeting app experience through which we'll be able to get the views from the participant before the meeting starts. So this kind of a functionality we will be able to achieve with out of the box or first party apps which are directly available from Microsoft. So this was the basic example how we'll be able to do that. So with that, let me again go back to the slides. Just give me one moment. All right. So and we will see how we'll be able to also create the in-meeting kind of an experiences.
So, with the in meeting app experience, you can engage the participants and during the meeting by using the apps and in meeting dialog box. So, meeting apps are hosted on the toolbar of the meeting window as an in meeting tab. And you can use the in meeting dialog box to showcase the actionable content for meeting participants.
Okay, so now that we just have seen this demo, like how we'll be able to add this Microsoft Forms poll to the meeting, but at the same time, even you will be able to add any of the first party app or even a third party app to your Teams meeting so that you will be able to create that kind of a pre-meeting experience. So that means before the meeting starts, you will be able to get some views from your participants upfront so that you can use that as a point or action items to be discussed during the meeting, and that's where the in meeting kind of an experience come into the picture. So let us have a look at the in meeting and the post meeting kind of an experiences first, and then we will go into the demos.
So, with the post meeting app experience, you can view the result of the meeting, such as the poll surveys results or the feedback. So, the image on the slide displays the Contoso tab with the results of poll and feedback received from the meeting attendees.
All right, so now that we know like what is meant by pre-meeting, in meeting and post meeting kind of an experiences. And now that we will entirely switch into the demo part. So we have at least couple of demos, one with the example of bot, and then the other one is with example of tab. So both are kind of an in meeting. The second one is a pre-meeting experience. It should not be the in meeting. So we have those two kind of an experiences created as a tab and then as a bot. So the code for this is available onto the Microsoft repository under this URL. So you will be able to download that code and again play with that code or on yourself as well. So what this meeting content bubble kind of an app does. So the in-meeting dialog box or this content bubble is very much helpful to show the content prompt as well as collect the feedback from users during the meeting. So first thing that we need to do here is that we need to set up the Azure bot. So for that, let me just show you how we'll be able to do it. So for example, if I Okay, for that, I will just go to portal.azure.com. And in that portal, Azure portal, we should first go ahead and create something called as an Azure bot. So if you remember, like previously, we used to had the channel registration, but now that we have got the Azure bot, which is the replacement for that. So if I go into the resource groups here, and if I go into the content bubble, so this is the resources that we will need for implementing that particular bot for our meeting app experiences. And here we have two resources created. First one is the Azure bot, and the second one is the app service. So let us go into this one by one. Azure bot is just responsible for any kind of a meeting conversation, and then the backend code which runs in synchronous with this is hosted onto the app service. So let me just open up the Azure bot first, and then how to create the Azure bot is like once you just click on create resource, there you can select Azure bot, provide the name, select the region for that Azure bot, and your Azure bot will be ready. So once you go into this Azure bot, at least here you can see that I'm just running this onto the F0 pricing tier. But the major section here is the configuration part. So here we need to provide some kind of a messaging endpoint, and this messaging endpoint will help us to define the conversation between our app service that we have seen and then this bot, because the code behind will be always with the app service, and then this one will be transferred to the bot using this messaging endpoint. So all of the conversation of the participant with bot will happen through this messaging endpoint. All right, so this is the messaging endpoint that we have got. The other two things which are pretty much important here is the bot type. So bot type could be a multi-tenant, or even it could be a single tenant as per your needs. So for example, if you want that the bot should be just accessing your tenant, we don't need to cross the tenant boundaries. In that case, feel free to just select that option. Or for example, if you want your app or bot to be used by the users probably who are not in your tenant, in that case we need to go ahead and select this option. Each of the Azure bot here will come up with the app ID. Once you click on this manage, from here we will be able to define how we'll be able to get authenticated with our app. So once this section opens, we have certificates and secrets through which we'll be able to create, upload a certificate, or at least create a secret key through which we'll be able to authenticate against that particular bot. All right, so this is the only basic thing that we need to set up for this bot to run. Another thing which is important is channels. So once the bot is ready, we need to channelize that particular bot to our conversation within Microsoft Teams. So here we are just using that channelization for the Microsoft Teams. And then all of the code that we have got is obviously running under the app called as app service, which is being referred by our bot. But firstly, let us go into the demo and see how that one is working. So what I will do here again, I will just use the same meeting, but this time what I will do is, let's say I will join that meeting because this one is a in meeting kind of an experience. So that means whenever I'm just using whenever I'm in the meeting, I should be able to use that. So I'll just click on join now so that I will be able to join that meeting. Same thing I will do for another user that we have got, Debra, who will also join the meeting. So let me just join the meeting with both the users. All right, I just have clicked that. All right, so with that, let me again come back to the experience of user. Okay, oops. Okay, again, my internet started playing here. All right, not to worry. Probably what I will do is let me just try to see if I can demo it from here itself on my host machine. Sorry for that. Mm, okay. Okay, so let me just try to see if I can demo it from here itself, and then I will come back to this point when I need to explain the code. So quickly, let me just try to open up the teams for both the users. All right. All right. Okay. Okay. So meanwhile, since my machine started joining, okay. So now that we have this kind of an experience where I have joined the meeting from my Teams client, whereas the other user, Debra, he has joined the meeting from the web. So as an organizer, I want to create an experiences of the in-meeting app experience. So what I will do is I can click onto these apps. All of the apps which are optimized for the meeting experiences will be able to see it from here. And then I can simply go into the more apps if in case I want to see more of such apps which can be added to this Teams meeting. So here we'll be able to see all of the apps which are enabled by our Teams administrator, which is available to us. And then here we have that content bubble demo. So we'll just go ahead, select this, and from here we get an option to just open this bot or maybe add this to the meeting. So we'll just select the last option, add to the meeting, because we want to go ahead and add this bot to our meeting. So again, again a slowness here, but okay, let me just go ahead, add this. All right. Oops, again the network not playing well. All right. Hmm. Okay, sorry for this. Let me again just try with the browser on my host machine. Sorry for this. Meanwhile, let me check if the virtual machine is back again. Okay, so now that this virtual machine is back again, I will just select the meeting here and then click setup as a bot. So what this will do is that particular bot will be set up as an app inside our Teams meeting. And then once the chat open, we'll be able to see it. So what I will do is I will just type agenda here by invoking that bot as the content bubble demo. So then the code behind for this bot will come into the picture, and then what it will simply do is it will just invoke some kind of an agenda out of it, and it will be shown to all of the users. Again, this particular thing will happen with something called as an adaptive card. So adaptive card are the lightweight JSON based format through which we will be able to see those. Okay, still again the network went wrong. All right, so let me just check here. Sorry for that. I just had to keep switching between multiple things. But okay, let me just check here. Mm, okay. All right, at least I will be able to show the demo from here. And then for the code part, let's see how we'll be able to do it. Okay. Okay, so at least now that here you can see that as I have invoked that particular bot, I'm able to see the agenda. So what can happen in this case is, let's say in this particular meeting, we are discussing about certain agenda that we want to roll out to our users. So let's say we have three agenda points: approving the 5% dividend payment to the stakeholders, or increasing the research budget, or continue work from home for next 3 months. So as a organizer, I can just go ahead and push that particular agenda to our attendees. So I can just click on push agenda. So that agenda will get pushed to all of the users, and then they will get a chance to have their opinion on that. So this one will be a kind of a boolean selection, whether they agree to this yes or no. Again, similar experience will be for the other users as well. Let me just go ahead and try to open that up with this user called as Debra. Let me just join that meeting from there as well, without audio or video. So as these particular users have also joined the meeting, as it goes into the chat of this particular meeting, even he will be able to see the same thing. So let's say, for example, if this user agrees, he say yes to that. In that case, again, the ad bot will receive that notification, and then bot will reply back with another adaptive card saying about each of the user who has voted yes or no for that. So we can just simply go ahead, keep adding the agenda, and then the bot will run from there. So with this kind of an bot, at least we'll be able to have some kind of an engaging meeting user experiences, so that we can push the agenda, or at least we can push the things that we want them to look into, and we can have their opinion. So let me again check quickly if my virtual machine is back. I will be able to show you the code for that. All right. Okay, so here we go. So this particular code has been developed with .NET. At the same time, for example, if you want to go ahead and use Node.js kind of a thing, even you can go ahead. So here we have got manifest JSON, wherein you need to update the app ID, which we just saw in the bot configuration. And for example, if you are using any kind of an app service, you will be able to add that. You need to add that app service inside the valid domain, so that there will be a secure kind of an or authenticated kind of an communication between your bot and teams. Second thing here we have got is the app settings JSON, wherein again we need to provide the app ID, the password that we had got from the password store, and then the base URL here will be the URL where our app is hosted. That means the app service URL. The major code lies for this particular bot in just one file called as this content bubble bot.cs. So what this code does is it initializes the conversation for our bot. So whenever we invoke the bot, it gives us three kind of an agenda items which are hard coded at this moment onto our meeting chat. So these are the three agenda items that we had seen. So we'll be able to see those agenda items. And then this particular method on message activity async will get called whenever someone will take some kind of an action on that. So for example, I will push that particular agenda to our participants. In that case, this method will get invoked, and this method in turn will call another card, which is this agenda card.json. So this agenda card JSON is nothing but through which we'll be able to push that particular agenda to our users. And when that agenda is pushed, what we want to do is, again, we need to show another card here called as question template, through which the other participants will be able to have their say whether they agree with this or no. So that can be again done with another JSON template, and then this JSON template will post that question or post that opinion for the users, so that they will be able to give the option of yes or no. The main thing here is that this one is happening through the Teams configuration, and then all of that external resource URL you will be able to configure at this place. So the in-meeting dialog is presented by the regular bot framework using this turn context dot send activity method, and then this one will update our Teams channel data. So again, for example, if you notice this particular URL, you will come to know that the contents of the in-meeting dialog have to be hosted in our app, which is the app service that we have seen. So this was the simple code walkthrough of what can be done with this kind of a bot. So let us go into the another demo, and then let's see what kind of an other things we'll be able to do. So here we have got meeting details tab. So this one is not bot but a tab kind of an experience through which we'll be able to create a tab for our meetings, through which probably if needed we'll be able to push the agenda as we need, or maybe even this kind of an experience can be used for in meeting or pre-meeting app kind of an experience as well. So this is kind of a dual functionality for this particular tab. Again, the code for this is available onto the Microsoft documentation repository. So you can download that. It is open source, and then if needed, you will be able to tweak that code. Okay, so let me just go into the team one more time and show you that. So right now, since this one is the dual functionality, what I will do is I will show you this one as the experience for our users as a pre-meeting kind of an experience. So what I will do now is I will again go back to my user, which is this one, and I will go into the calendar again. And from here, I want to set up that as an uh, tab. So we saw one example of bot. Now that we are seeing another example of tab here. Okay, so let's say now that we want to again add the tab here, we will follow the same process by clicking add here, and then we'll be able to add the tabs. So again, if your tab is not here, or your functionality is not here, you can click on manage apps, so that all of the apps which are created for you, you will be able to see it from here. So we already had this content bubble demo added here. Even you can click on more apps, so that you will be able to taken to the app store, from where all of the apps which are probably built for your organization with custom code or maybe with Power Platform, you will be able to see it from here. And one of such functionality is this details tab. So I'll just go ahead, click on this details tab, and then I will add this to our meeting. So this meeting is the meeting that we just had selected, where we want to get this tab added. So I'll just click there. Again, we do have option to set it as a tab or bot, but we know that this is a tab. So I will just go ahead and get this one set up as the tab. So as soon as we add this one as a tab, that functionality will be, or sooner should be available here. This one is still installing. So after the installation of this, that detail tab will be available to us. I can just click on save, and from here we get a nicer option that as an organizer, I will have the entire control with me, like what kind of an agenda I want to post. So now that in the previous example, we saw that bot was able to maybe get to some predefined agenda and push that to our users. But now that here we have a complete control, what kind of an agenda we want to push to our users. So here I will just type something, meeting one, sorry, option one and option two. And I will just click on create. So what this one will do is with this I will be able to pre-create some kind of an agenda. So when the meeting will start, I can just click on send, and this particular agenda will be sent to each of the users on their Teams chat message, so that during that meeting they will be able to respond to that. So let us see, for example, if I go back to the meeting experiences here, we should be able to see that. But just looking at the time that we have in hand, I will just quickly go there and check if we can see it. All right. So now that you can see that this details tab has pushed one agenda here, and from here we'll be able to have our say option one or option two. And one good thing with this tab implementation is that once you push or once the user will give their opinion, at least we'll be able to see the result there itself, like how many people have voted for option one, how many have for option two, and then even you can click on these results and You also will be able to see the entire results or maybe showcase this entire results to our users. And then even here from even from here you can see who were the users who had answered for that particular poll, so that based on the weightage from which department they are coming or from which functionality they are coming from, you will be able to weight them and then take the better decision. All right, so that was quickly like how we'll be able to build the bots as well as the tabs. Another example here we have is building that Microsoft Teams meeting app with SharePoint framework. So nowadays means at least SharePoint framework doesn't need any special introduction, but simply with this we'll be able to create some nicer looking apps for our teams as well. So in the early days, we used to just create a tab or personal apps with SPFX, but with the support of version 1.12, even we are able to create the meeting apps for Microsoft Teams meeting with SPFX. So let us see like how we can do that. So this was the solution which was built by us customly, and then it is available at this particular URL under the PNP repo, so that even you will be able to use that. So in this example, what we do is we store all the questionnaires in a SharePoint list, and then we show those questionnaires to the users based on the meetings that they are in. So let me just quickly show how that experience is. So for example, if I go back to any of the meeting, I can go into the calendar. I will just open up that calendar, click on edit. And since this one is a pre-meeting kind of an experience, I can again click on plus. And here we have that optimize apps for our meeting. I can just click on this meeting questionnaire, which is nothing but the customly created SPFX solution. And then we can save this once it is ready. And this one will play around with SharePoint list, which is pre-configured for this app. And all of the questions which are being sent for this meeting, they will be stored in that SharePoint list, so that for the other users, they are just using this app for asking the question before the meeting start, and then all those questions with the specific meeting ID, we will be able to store. So once I click on new question, I will just type question one and some description here, and click on save. So this is just the question that one will be posted as a pre-meeting app experience, so that when the meeting will start, at least an organizer as well as the other participant, they can refer to all of these questions, and then those questions or queries can be resolved during the meeting, so that it will make us some more productive to have a look at what kind of an issues we have, or maybe what kind of an agenda that we should be looking at, and then give some more better interactions. So let us see how the code for this has been designed. For that, let me again go back to my SharePoint framework solution. So this one is the SharePoint framework solution which has been designed with SPFX version 1.14.0. Then we do have few of the services running behind, which will help us to get um, as well as update the information into the SharePoint list in the form of questionnaire. So we have one list created as meeting questionnaire with some IDs, with some columns of meeting ID, title, description, who asked the question, when it was asked, all those kind of thing. And then we just use that information to show to the user like these were the question being asked for this particular meeting. And then this one is the React based implementation, wherein we are using the Office UI Fabric controls to render that particular information, maybe in the form of activities. So activities, that means it is one kind of a control available inside Office UI Fabric controls, through which we'll be able to show all the questions which has been asked as a pre-meeting experiences, one below the other. And then, for example, whenever someone clicks ask question or new question, this is the React control which get rendered, which help them to add the question to that pre-meeting app experience. And once they click on save using this SPO service that we have got, we simply add that particular question into the SharePoint list. So based on the um, based on the meeting that they have asked this question into, they will be able to see that question there itself. So this one was just the implementation with SPFX. But again, there are no as such limitations based on what kind of an scenario you want to tackle for. You can create this maybe apps, bots, maybe using Node.js, Visual Studio Code, or even with SharePoint framework. All right. So with that, we are coming closer to the our session again. This particular demo is available as a code solution onto this URL. So if you want, just go ahead, maybe install in your Teams and let us know how that works. Okay, so the conclusion for this session is like make your Teams meeting engaging with the apps so that you will be able to get better interaction with your participant. Firstly, I will say prefer using the first party apps which are directly available from Microsoft, or maybe start using the third party apps which are available, for example SurveyMonkey or any of the other third party apps that we have got. If in case, for example, your IT department is bit worried about the security or compliance of all those apps, maybe you can think of developing your own custom apps. Or for example, if you're looking out for certain other scenarios which probably not covered with the first party or third party kind of an apps, develop your own custom apps. So again, there we don't have any limitations based on what kind of an background you are coming from, what kind of an skill sets you have. You can prefer to create them with maybe your teams, or maybe with Visual Studio, or for example, if you are coming from the SharePoint background, even all of the apps that you have priorly created with SPFX, you will be also able to port them into a Microsoft Teams as the meetings apps, or maybe even as the Teams app in general. So I will say just develop the generic app than a specific experience for pre-meeting, in meeting, or post-meeting kind of an experience. Just develop one generic app, and then you will be able to use that app based on your own scenarios. So use any of the platform, Visual Studio, your Teams, or SPFX to create the apps. These are the more common ways to create the app. But at the same time, for example, uh, if you have any of the other implementation as well, you will be able to do that. Because for example, if you are just creating bot kind of scenarios, bot will need something where the code is hosted, and then there are limitless possibilities through which we'll be able to create the code and host that into your solution. At the same time, for example, if you have got any idea, feel free to get in touch with us, and we can co-develop all those kind of solutions together. All right. With that, thank you very much for having us. Sorry for the disturbance because of the internet connectivity, but despite of that, feel free to have any questions, and please share your feedback by using this QR code. Thank you very much for having us. Back to you, Drago.